All right, so something a little different in this video. The Pies had a main training session today, but they changed it to 2 hours earlier. So from 12:45, like was advertised on their website, it was changed to about 10:30. So I missed the entire thing, which is unfortunate. But the boys still trained. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over Craig McRae's presser that he had straight after training. There are a couple of tidbits that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, let's just get into it. All right, so we're not going to watch the whole thing. It'll be bits and pieces that are relevant to this week, like he talks about Simon Goodwin and stuff. So we're going to skip over all of that and just get to the good stuff.
Dayos was out on the track today. How likely is he to get up on? No, Nick will play. Nick will play. His loads have been managed. We've gradually been doing it more and more throughout the week because his GPS is really high match day. So no, he'll be available. Yep.
So Nick Dayos didn't train in the main training session. He'll talk about Bobby Hill in a second. Looks like load management. When that tweet went out that Bobby Hill and Nick Dayos weren't training, I know I had a lot of messages asking me what was going on. So it looks like just load management, which, you know, they've done all throughout. He's putting up, like Craig McRae said, just absolutely high numbers whenever he's out there running. It's like the repeated sprints. It's how much kilometers he's getting into his legs. And with the short turnaround time, someone like Nick, you know, you got to park the Porsche in the garage a couple of times a year. So you can't take it out all the time for these training sessions, especially leading closer to the final series.
Bobby Hill, I didn't see him today. Is everything okay with Bobby?
Gastro, it's a bugger. We'd love to keep him moving. It's just unfortunate. So he may be in doubt. We'll have to see how he goes the next 24 hours. No, we were only 48 hours from playing. So he'll be in doubt, I think. Fingers crossed.
So Bobby Hill is out with gastro. Well, not out. He didn't train today with gastro. So we know that gastro and this flu has just ripped through the club in the last 4 or so weeks, which is just absolutely unfortunate. We know we've missed a lot of players because of it, and a lot of players were playing ill because of it. Craig McRae and Collingwood's policy has always been, if you're sick, you don't come in. Last thing you want is everyone in the team having gastro, still having to field a team, and just being absolutely shot because you can't get your fluids up and stuff like that. I remember a story about Steele Sidebottom, and I might find it while I'm editing this video, that he played a final after being in hospital with gastro or something, and he lost like 5 kilos. I don't know if I'm making that up or not, but I'm pretty sure I heard about that. And if I did, it'll be popping up on the screen anytime. And if I didn't, I'm sorry for lying to you. Not really lying to you, but you know what I mean. But Bobby, hopefully he plays because we don't have Bo. We need that small pressure forward. Lockie Shields can't do it all by himself. When Bobby came on, you know, although he came on late, still kicked that goal, still had a nice mark, did a couple of nice things, but you want to see Bobby hit the ground running from the start. I'd rather him miss this game, unfortunately, get himself better, and play against Adelaide in Adelaide, which will be the biggest game.
There's a few moving parts with selection, but are you hopeful Jeremy and then does Billy get the recall as well?
Yeah, Jeremy will definitely play. He got through today well and excited to play. Billy's name will come up into consideration. Yep. I loved his game at the VFL. I really enjoyed that. The week before was about getting minutes. This week was about performance, and he performed well. Yeah, he'll put some question marks around match committee about his magnet. Yeah.
Now, that one strikes me as very, very, very odd. We've been crying out for the big body defender of Billy Frampton these last few weeks. Remember, he hasn't played for like 5 or something weeks. And we've been calling out for him. It's great that Jeremy Howe is going to play. We kind of knew that Jeremy Howe would play. Jeremy Howe is the guy down back who not only is flying for marks and stuff like that, but he's the organizer in the back line. He's telling everyone, you know, this is your positions. Play here. You need to go on him. He's very smart, like tactically up here. And that's what we've missed these last few weeks. I don't think Darcy Moore does that very well. Darcy Moore leads in a different way. He's more of a leader, not really that tactician that I can see from the outside, obviously looking in. But I see Jeremy Howe doing that a lot. So we have really, really missed that. But for Fly to say, yeah, you know, Howe's definitely playing. Billy Frampton, look, maybe it was about, you know, his performance in the VFL, and I think we don't win that game against Williamstown without Billy's performance. So to say there's question marks around Billy's, not availability, but if he'll be put up into the squad, is really interesting to me because Hawthorn played with those 4 talls. I think it worked okay for them last week. They probably dropped one or maybe not two, but they probably dropped one of them. But they have an insane forward line. It's not only their talls, it's their smalls as well. So their forward line is incredible. We need Jeremy Howe, Billy Frampton, Darcy Moore fit and playing. If there's no Billy Frampton, Charlie Dean looks like he'll get another go. Now, I know I've been pretty harsh on Charlie Dean. I've always said that he's just a stopgap. He's not a second defender. Charlie Dean as a third or fourth defender flying in, maybe a fourth defender, great. That's where his position plays well. That's what he plays in the VFL pretty much. That's the position that he needs to play. As a second key defender, just not his position. Maybe with Jeremy Howe coming into the side, that will help Charlie Dean's game a little bit. It's definitely going to help Darcy Moore's game. But for Fly to put question marks around Billy Frampton, now it's kind of like I wouldn't be shocked if he's not playing against Hawthorn on Thursday because he hasn't given him the absolute A-OK.
So my initial thoughts on seeing us, we did a lot right, and then there's little parts of our game that we're getting feedback around, that we just got to keep tidying up. And I stand here much rather get those lessons learned now or the feedback now than 3 or 4 weeks time we go, oh geez, I didn't know that was part of our game. Oh God, here we are. Now we're fighting for our lives. For want of a better term. But yeah, I don't think we did a lot right and lots of little things to tidy up.
The feedback piece. We've been hearing about this feedback piece for the last 4 or 5 weeks. We're getting feedback. And it seems like every week we're working on the feedback. So the feedback from this game against the Lions would be that our pressure was non-existent after halftime. I think I saw that in the fourth quarter, we had a pressure rating of about 156 from memory, which is really, really terrible. Brisbane just outplayed us, outgunned us, outclassed us, however you sort of want to say it. But like Craig said, you want to get feedback now, then in September. But what are we doing with this feedback? It's no point getting all this feedback and then coming out against Hawthorn and not playing that high pressure football that Collingwood do so well or have done so well in the past. A lot of the metrics have dropped at the moment, but that's what we do so well. So hopefully they take this feedback on board because, you know, I, I want the feedback to show on field. I don't want to just gather all this feedback and not do anything about it.
With the 11 touches on the weekend, you've spoken about trying to get the ball more in his hands, but what leaders can you pull the last few weeks led in the finals?
Yeah, whether it's a positional one, I'm not sure, but we want the ball into his hands, and we, if you watch training today, he was significant in that. We went through him a lot, and there's some of that on him and us. Some way the game's played at times. If you're just playing straight down the line, kick it to our keys, he's not going to touch the ball much. So we got to look at little ways we can change that.
Yeah, it's fit it really up.
So that's an interesting one. So the Dan Houston question: how can we get the ball into his hands more? What's going on there? Craig McRae says it's him and us. So I don't know if it's a sort of confidence thing like that, or he's not fitting into the system right at the moment. I did put up a cool little video on how we can change that, and you can watch that up here or up here, wherever it's sort of going. But to hear that we used him a lot during training shows me that the feedback of, Dan Houston being, 11 disposals on the weekend and very low at the moment, get the ball into his hands. He's one of the best users in the club and in the AFL when he gets going, probably not at the moment, but if we can get the ball into his hands, put, Josh Dayos into the middle, have Jack Crisp on the half back line, have, Houston a little bit more higher up the ground and feed the ball through him, we're going to be a better team for it. And I think that we might see an adjustment against Hawthorn where we use Dan a lot more because Hawthorn will probably do well to sort of pick off Dayos or both Dayoses. So we need another Hydra head to pop up and Dan Houston could be that guy.
What more that you guys can do as coaches?
It's subtle. It's really subtle, Drew. I think this, again, the way we move the ball, if it becomes boring to play and boring to watch, well, Dan's not going to touch it much. And then so we adjust that potentially. And then you got the other levers of, where we play him in certain ways. We have a lot of high forward half game and he's sort of sitting back a bit. Again, we saw little snippets of growth in the month prior and was excited for that. Yeah, let's judge at the full course. But I think Lockie Schultz is a great example. It takes a bit of time to adjust to our system.
So uses Lockie Schultz as an example there. We know how well Lockie Schultz has done in his second season at the Pies, which is obviously this year, and couldn't really hit the ground running. But I would counter argue that and say Lockie Schultz and Dan Houston, obviously different players. Dan Houston is coming off back-to-back All-Australians in the half-back line. We knew what we were getting when we signed him. I think, Craig McRae talks about our game plan a little bit. He says that it's, if it's boring, Dan's not going to get the ball, or if we're playing high, he's not going to get the ball. We got to get Dan into positions where he will get the ball. I think that's, it's the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. And you want the best users using the ball all the time. And I want Dan to be the one that's hitting targets inside 450 and generating our scores. And maybe we have to stop sometimes or change the game plan around where we're not that kick it long sort of team. And we are that run off halfback, which we were. We were generating a lot of scores off our halfback line. Now we're more of a forward half team. So I would want to see more of Dan Houston up the ground. I think that's where the change happens.
Yeah, some weeks we just feel like we're just going to be a high contest stoppage game, and we go, we might need some balls in there and high tackle numbers. And other weeks we think, we can get this team on transition, so let's pick a team according to that. So there's
Interesting.
a little bit of mixing and matching for that.
So this is, I guess, about Tom Mitchell and Ned Long in the middle. So obviously we know that they pick teams, of how the other team's going to play. It's a chameleon sort of looking team. That's what I've said all season. So he said, when we need high tackle numbers and high contest, we go one way with the mids. When we think we can get the team on transition, we go another way. So that to me says that they thought they could get Brisbane on the transition and it wouldn't be a high contested game. And I guess in a way they're all right because we didn't play a high contested game. Brisbane did. And we didn't have high tackle numbers. And I think they maybe got it wrong. Like we've been saying that they've got it wrong at selection for these last couple of days. I think they just maybe called it a little bit wrong. And we did need, Tom Mitchell's presence there in the clearances, down under. And I know, with Tom Mitchell or not, you could see Brisbane were getting us on their transition and around clearances and stuff like that. So I think just that older experience head of Tom Mitchell would have really helped us. So I wonder if they see Hawthorn as we need high tackle numbers and higher transition. High tackle numbers or more pressure, or we can get them on the transition side.
Josh went into the midfield again in the last quarter against Brisbane, like against Gold Coast. Do you think is that going to remain like a break glass in case of emergency thing, or do you use it?
Oh, look, to be honest, I just sit on the bench and go, come on, let's do more. I don't want to ever stand still. Come on, we're 3 goals down. Let's do something else. Come on, what can we do? Let's get Josh in there. He'll give us a bit of a spark. We just don't want to just go to the line and go, they got us today. This is too good. And rightly, they were too good on the day. But it's not from a lack of trying. And we'll continue to try things to make us better.
I do like the break glass in case of emergency, Josh Dayos in the last quarter. I think we can use Josh Dayos more than in the last quarter in the midfield. Maybe start with him a couple of times just to get that run because we know he's quick. He's a bigger body than Nick. I'm not saying don't use Nick in the middle. You can probably have both of them, both really smart. They know each other inside and out. And then have Nick off the half back line. We've talked about this multiple times. I just think that we can utilize Josh Dayos a little bit more in the middle and put Dan Houston in Josh Dayos' position where he's creating off half back. I think that's the simplest answer. And maybe it's happening and I'm just not seeing it much. But we tend to use Josh Dayos like I think it was Xander McGuire that said that was a break glass in case of emergency type in the last quarter.
Hawks played with 4 talls last week. I know they ended up subbing Couch third quarter. How does that affect your selection? How does it affect your build-up, your scouting of them?
Yeah, I think we'll concentrate on us, but have an awareness around what they're doing. We'll put some energy in what we think is our best look down back to, we're still the number 1 points against team in the competition, so we're doing a lot right in defence, so we'll just see what that looks like. And, they've got a lot of smalls too that are pretty dangerous. We're going to make sure we get our tackles right this week.
So that's, another one kind of coming down to the Billy Frampton piece that was questioned earlier on in the press conference, just about their tools and the Hawthorn's tools and what it looks like. And he singles out their small. So you're looking at Ginnivan and Watson. And I think for the small mediums, we're pretty covered with that. You know, you've got Q, you've got Perryman when he's down there, you got Maynard as well. It's those tools that you've got to watch out for, and you watch someone random. Maybe it's going to be Mitch Lewis, maybe it'll be Kalshadir if he plays. Chol, someone's going to kick 5 goals again if we don't get this right. 5 or 6 goals again if we don't get this right. I think Howe coming back will mitigate that a little bit. I still think we need Billy Frampton in this team to let more off the leash, a lot more. I was going to say, no pun intended. But it's just interesting. Just going back to his start where he just questioned Billy Frampton. So I think they don't. Do they not? Not that they don't rate Billy, but because they obviously do. But maybe they think that with Howe coming back and keeping Charlie Dean in the side, that will be enough. Like, we're not going to know until team selection comes out Wednesday night.
Been the hunted at the top of the table for the best part of 2 or 3 months, probably. Is there any switch of mindset? I know the ladder positions don't mean everything, but just a slight change that you're not there anymore.
Oh no, I think this group likes to chase things. I know that's real. There's a bit of the thrill of the chase. We've had that for years. Get 3 or 4 goals down. Okay, here we come. I know the leaders speak about that, but we just got to control our own narrative, really, and getting in the form that we know this is going to represent and be hard for others to play against, and we don't feel that that's far away.
That's huge. That's interesting. That's really interesting. To say, I know the leaders in the club and the team like to chase instead of being, it's pretty much saying they like to chase instead of being the hunted and sitting on top and getting complacent is how I read it. Because as soon as we got those 14 wins, when Craig McRae came out and said, we got the 14 wins, we've qualified, that's when I feel like we dropped off a little bit and the mentality shifted a lot because we weren't fighting for something. Now we are fighting for something. We're fighting for survival, not only in the top 2, but in the top 4. Do we see the Collingwood of 2022, 2023 come out? And now we were the hunted, now we're the hunter. We're back hunting for that top 2 spot. And that's it makes me really excited to see how we play on Thursday because of it. But it also makes me a little bit nervous that could be the mentality. Because if we're on top of the ladder like we were and getting complacent, we should never be complacent because we know teams are always going to come for us. And we felt that last year when we became the hunted and we dropped our first 3 games and all this sort of stuff and missed out on finals because we were the hunted. So we're probably, this might be me coping, right? Having some of that, what do the kids say? Having some of the cope. I don't know what they say. But maybe we're in a better position now that we are in the middle of the pack and chasing than sitting pretty on top of the ladder. You can take that in a good way or a bad way. Depends on your mindset. My mindset is going to be take it in a good way. We are chasing for a top 2, top 4 finish now. And that's it from the presser. I cut out a lot there. You can go watch it in full on Collingwood's YouTube channel. So yeah, some really interesting tidbits, and they were my thoughts on it. The match preview will drop later on tonight, and give you more of my thoughts on this game and what it sort of looks like. But that Billy Frampton piece was interesting. The hunter versus complacency, the chase sort of stuff was very interesting. I just thought it was a very interesting. I know I just said that 1,000 times, but a very interesting presser, and one that I did want to talk about now that there wasn't a training video there. Hoping that Bobby gets up, but again, would rather him miss instead of having a 50%, Bobby Hill, and then, go on and play against Adelaide. Finally, I do want these journos to ask a bit more questions like around, the Geordie and Bobby selection last week. Like, how do you think it worked? With Geordie, is he, going to be better for it? Is he going to play a full game? How are you utilizing the sub? Are you going to be managing? Like, I just think there could have been a little bit more questions asked around that. Like, we got a question about Silvani that I didn't put in here that, Fly just like pew-pewed off his shoulder. So I don't know, maybe they need to get fans to ask questions in the media presses a little bit more. But let me know if you actually like this format. Maybe I can do it a little bit more. I don't know what this looks like with copyright because I'm using the the presser from Collingwood's YouTube. But let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to see more of this, if you don't want to see this anymore, let me know down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.